I am impossible. There has to be a mistake, Meng Jian screamed. It can't possibly be at His Highness' place. It just can't. Mistake. Meng Kongqun fed, and everyone's heart trembled. He made a grabbing motion, and the divine jade of revelation in the jade box floated to Meng Kongqun's soul energy. The next moment, the word Zai appeared at the bottom of the abyssal crystal. It was a soul imprint the dreamless divine regent had personally engraved into the abyssal crystal. Who could fake it? Who would dare? This also proved that this divine jade of revelation was the one Meng Kongqun had gifted to Meng Jiangxi back then. There was no other possibility. Oh, Yun Qi exclaimed in realization. I see now. It's Divine Son Zai and Prince Jian's joining hands to put on a heist show. To think that such an ugly show would be spread throughout the kingdom and even alarm the Chief Lord and the 9 Dream Lords. My eyes are opened, and I am impressed beyond words. The 9 Dream Lords exchanged glances with each other. They could only find stupid astonishment, and more stupid astonishment on everyone's face. Meng Jiangxi forced himself to calm down and met Meng Kongqun's eyes directly. He said sincerely, Father, after you gave me the divine jade of revelation back then, there were multiple times I nearly lost control and used it even though it would be unwise. So I gave it to Mother and told her that she could only give it to me after I had reached the peak of level 4 divine extinction realm. Therefore, the divine jade of revelation has not been with me for many years. I have no idea how giants came to have it, much less appear at my residence. It's just... He wanted to say that it was impossible, but Meng Kongqun had undoubtedly located the divine jade of revelation with his soul imprint. It could not be faked or questioned, to say the least. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what the idiom, not even 100 mouths could clear one's name, meant. Left with no choice, he swore on his honor as the Divine Son. Father, Dream Lords, I may be flawed in many ways, but I have always thought of my title as the Divine Son as the highest honor. I would never do anything to besmirch it, much less use such a lowly tactic against Brother Yuan. Please see the truth, Father Dream Lords. I really have no idea about this. That's right. Meng Kangji hurriedly chimed in, though his tone was nowhere as confident and accusing as before. Divine Son, Jiangxi is the Divine Son you chose. You should know better than anyone how he behaves and conducts himself. Jiangxi and Jianyuan are the best young men Dreamweaver has ever welcomed, and it is good for them to compete against each other in a healthy fashion. However, stealing his own possession to frame Meng Jianyuan, this is something Jiangxi would never do. Meng Kangji abruptly spun around and roared at Meng Jians. This is something you selfishly cooked up, didn't you? Speak. Tell us everything. Earlier, Meng Jians had messaged him and sworn on his life that he saw Meng Jianyuan stealing the divine jade of revelation with his own eyes. That was why he was overflowing with passion and certain that he would be able to score one back for Meng Jiangxi. Now, he only wished he could slap Meng Jian's head off his shoulders. The twists and turns were so incomprehensible that Meng Jian's poor brain threatened to tear itself apart. He more than anyone else wished to know what on earth was happening. When Meng Kangji's angry roar jolted him back to reality, he shuddered and did the only thing he could think of, push all the blame on Yun Qi. This really has nothing to do with His Highness. Meng Jianyuan really did steal the divine jade of revelation. That is the truth. That is the truth. Father, you have to believe me. If I have breathed a single lie, may abyssal dust devour me forever. He had seen with his own eyes Yun Qi taking the divine jade of revelation and leaving in a hurry. It was the truth, and it should have been impossible for Yun Qi to turn things around. That was why he could not believe that the divine jade of revelation would appear in Meng Jiangxi's residence, even though the dreamless divine regent himself had decreed it so. To prove that he wasn't lying, he had even sworn an oath that anyone would agree was beyond cruel. Then realization flashed through his muddled head. He screamed, Meng Jianyuan. Meng Jianyuan must have snuck it into His Highness' residence after stealing the divine jade of revelation. He must have. While side-eyeing Meng Jians, Meng Kongqun uttered, Xiaoyuan. Meng Xiaoyuan soundlessly appeared and knelt beside Meng Kongqun. Meng Kongqun asked indifferently, Tell me, did Yuan go anywhere after he left Jian's place? Meng Xiaoyuan replied emotionlessly, Young master first went to your dreamless pavilion after leaving the Divine Sun Palace. Then he accepted Prince Jian's invitation and went to his residence. He left 7 or 8 minutes later and returned straight to his Divine Sun Palace. He was resting in his bedroom until he was woken up by this. Once again, Meng Jians was stunned. Lei Shang, Meng Kongqun called out next. Lu Leisheng immediately stepped forward and dropped to one knee. Did Yuaner leave even once after his return? Lu Leisheng replied without any hesitation. Supreme One, the young master has been resting in his bedroom since returning. He has not taken a step outside since his return. Every guard, steward, and servant in the palace can attest to that. He shot Meng Jians a glance before adding, if the Supreme One, the Dream Lords, or Divine Sun Jiangxi have doubts, please select any guard or servant and put them under Falling Dream. His declaration was so certain, so absolute, that it became unnecessary to put anyone under Falling Dream. Meng Kongchen stared at Meng Jians, who looked like he had lost his soul, and said, Jians, Jiangxi, tell me this. If Yuaner really was the one who took the divine jade of revelation, how could he possibly sneak out of his bedroom and into Jiangxi's residence without being detected by anyone? Meng Jiangxi could not answer that. Meng Jians was collapsing bit by bit like a melting snowman or a piece of mud on the wall. Half slumped, he muttered again and again with empty, lost eyes, impossible, impossible. I am. Possible? Bolstered by the fact that he had absolute truth on his side. He had obeyed Meng Chuanju's orders and blown the incident up as much as possible. It was to rescue Meng Jiangxi's lost honor in front of the biggest crowd. Now, he got the crowd he wanted, but instead of Meng Jianyuan earning an irremovable stain on his honor and being remembered as a thief for eternity, it became him and Meng Jiangxi working together to frame Meng Jianyuan. Worse still, the mountain of evidence was positively unassailable. Everything he said and displayed as the evidence of Meng Jianyuan's crime earlier had become the evidence of his crime instead. This is irrefutable evidence, Jians, Meng Keiyang said indifferently. I never knew that you were audacious enough to frame Divine Sun Yuan in front of the Supreme One and the rest of us. He cast Meng Jiangxi a glance. Divine Sun Zai, he is yours. I trust you know how to deal with him. Also, you best pray that you truly have nothing to do with this incident. Meng Jiangxi slowly closed his eyes and said in a painful voice, the divine jade of revelation is mine, and it was found in my residence. I'm well aware that I wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. Please give me some time to investigate the truth, Father, Brother Yuan, Dream Lords. If I fail, I am willing to accept any punishment. Meng Kongchen turned around and stared at the Dream Lords. You're all lords of a dream hall, and you have all shown up to witness such an ugly, trivial matter. You must all be quite free, aren't you? All 9 Dream Lords bowed their heads at once. This was a conflict between Divine Sun Zai and Divine Sun Yuan, and it was such a sensitive period too. Of course, they could not help but show up in person. It was worth it, though. Just witnessing Meng Jianyuan's pile of abyssal crystals was enough to unsettle them even now. At the same time, they finally realized that even their highest estimation of Meng Jianyuan was still the grossest underestimation of the millennium, if not ever. You may withdraw, Meng Kongchen ordered. This is not for the Dream Halls to handle. The Dream Lords, including Meng Kangji, replied with their affirmations and left. Naturally, they were all shooting Meng Jiangxi and Meng Jianyuan complicated looks prior to their departure. After the Dream Lords were gone, Meng Jiangxi abruptly fell to his knees and said, Father, this really has nothing to do with me. I know, Meng Kongchen replied indifferently. Meng Jiangxi looked up in shock, but he did not feel relieved or happy at all. It was because Meng Kongchen's eyes were filled with an emotion far worse than even volcanic fury, disappointment. Do you know why you've lost this badly despite having done nothing? Meng Kongchen stared at him. All rulers must know how to rely on their subordinates, but at the same time, it is a double-edged sword. You trusted Jian so much that he came to grow his own delusional opinions. You relied on your mother's clan so much that you were basically held hostage by them. Are you really going to tell me you have no idea who the one who plotted this farce is? Meng Jiangxi slowly turned white, but he just could not say that name no matter what. It is true that you haven't done anything, but it is equally true that this matter started because of you. Therefore, you bear a certain amount of responsibility. Meng Kongchen raised a finger and pushed the divine jade of revelation belonging to Meng Jiangxi to Yun Qi. When it landed in Yun Qi's hand, the soul imprint shaped like the characters I was completely gone. This divine jade of revelation shall go to Yuaner as recompense. Do you object? It was framed as a question, but who would dare to object against a divine regent's decision? Meng Jiangxi's face was gray with defeat, but he forced himself to look accepting and said, I will remember your teaching, Father. I have no qualms surrendering this divine jade of revelation to Brother Yuan if it could quell the grievances he received. Good, Meng Kongchen said before giving Yun Qi a nod. Then he turned to leave. He never shot the limp Meng Jians a single glance. As Meng Kongchen passed by Yun Qi, his voice rang in his ears. "How did you do it, Yuaner?" "I knew I couldn't fool you, Divine Regent," Yun Qi replied vaguely and shamelessly. "It's just a spatial trick, that's all." Meng Kongchen replied, "There are plenty of powerful guards watching Jiangxi's residence, and one of them isn't too far behind Shaoyuan. What on earth is this spatial trick, that it could fool even their spiritual senses flawlessly? You have a lot more hidden trump cards, don't you? Now that I think about it, your aunt must have intervened to prevent you from revealing your true strength. Very good." His tone wasn't accusing. On the contrary, Meng Kongchen sounded very happy. Yun Qi was going to say something, but Meng Kongchen pressed on. "The obscene number of mutated abyssal crystals you displayed today has stunned Meng Kangji and the 9 Dream Lords and drastically altered their inclinations. That is enough. Make sure you hide the rest of your trump cards well and do not reveal them to anyone unless absolutely necessary. Not even me, understand." In the distance, Meng Kongchen turned around to give Yun Qi a smile before fading into nothing. For half a breath, something touched Yun Qi's heart. He had prepared an explanation for any question Meng Kongchen might throw at him already, but to his surprise, the Divine Regent asked nothing. There was only one reason he would do that. He trusted and accepted him that much. After Meng Kongchen and the Dream Lords were gone, the formless pressure that filled the area gradually dissipated. As if he had found his soul again, Meng Jians abruptly climbed to Meng Jiangxi's side while yelling, "I'm not lying, Your Highness. I really saw him taking it with my own." Meng Jiangxi launched a powerful kick that sent Meng Jians flying 300 meters before he smashed into a wall. Such was his anger that he held nothing back when he kicked Meng Jians. This was evident from the fact that the ground Meng Jians flew past was split open, and the wall the prince crashed into cracked like a spider web. After Meng Jians landed on the ground, he spasmed for a bit and stopped moving entirely. The mental shock he received before was already too much, and this kick was the last straw that broke the camel's back. He actually fell unconscious from that one kick. After glancing at the divine jade of revelation Yun Qi was holding one time, Meng Jiangxi forced himself to look away and ground out. "I don't care what you think, Meng Jianyuan, but I'm only going to say this once. I had nothing to do with this incident at all." "I know," Yun Qi chuckled while toying with Meng Jiangxi's divine jade of revelation. Meng Jiangxi stiffened a little before realizing what Yun Qi had just admitted to. He abruptly spun around and stared at him with wide, bloodshot eyes. It really was you who stole the divine jade of revelation and placed it in my residence without a trace." "Of course." Yun Qi's smile deepened. "What, you don't believe me?" Meng Jiangxi could not say anything for a long time. His breathing was growing heavier and heavier as well. At some point, he had to shake his head to clear the chaos inside his head just a bit and asked, "How? How on earth did you do it?" "That's a good question." Yun Qi's expression slowly turned playful. "You can't even imagine how I did it, but I already did it. You lot think of the divine jade of revelation as a priceless, divine treasure, but to me, they are just convenient torch stones. Do you understand the gap between us now?" Meng Jiangxi's eyes rippled uncontrollably, but he could not muster up a single retort. Still playing with the divine jade of revelation, Yun Qi continued in an uncaring tone. "You are the Dreamweaver divine son, so I don't think such a pathetic scheme would come from your hands. If you ask me, it feels more like the tantrum of a panicking woman who has lost the plot." "Hmm?" Yun Qi pretended to think before continuing slowly. "You mentioned it yourself that you had entrusted the divine jade of revelation to your mother for safekeeping. For what reason would the divine empress be in such a hurry to overthrow me? I can't help but wonder if Meng Jianyuan's tragedy a century ago had something to do with her." Meng Jiangxi's expression did not change, but his heart was straining to hold in the tidal waves of shock. Yun Qi shot him another look before letting out a low chuckle. "A normal person would have subconsciously accused me of slander and lambasted me for making such a terrible accusation, but you are feigning calmness. Looks like I'm right after all, not only that you are aware of your mother's crime." Meng Jiangxi shook again before erupting. "Meng Jianyuan, my mother is the Dreamweaver Divine Empress. Your slander will not stand." Yun Qi beamed at him. "Calm, Divine Son Jiangxi, it's just a guess. I don't have any evidence to support it. Even if I do suspect something, I wouldn't be stupid enough to spread my suspicions right now. Anyway, I think you have more things to worry about than little old me." This theft of mine was blown way out of proportion, and once the truth spreads, the backlash is going to be just as bad. I'm afraid even you will suffer quite the reputation and loyalty loss. This is especially true for the 9 Dream Lords. Do you remember how they reacted and saw you? Once they have had time to digest what happened today, I'm sure their evaluations of you and me are going to undergo a drastic change. So, Yun Qi's smile abruptly vanished without a trace, and his eyes slowly grew as deep as the abyss. Are you still going to fight me, Meng Jiangxi? He was the Dreamweaver, divine son. How could he lose to his opponent in terms of vigor? He furrowed his brow and was just about to mouth a retort when he met Yun Qi's eyes, and found his words crawling back into his throat. How could he describe those eyes? He felt like a worm trying to meet the gaze of a dragon, like he was being looked at disdainfully out of the corner of Yun Qi's eye. His eyes were completely filled by Yun Qi's face, but Yun Qi's did not reflect his appearance one bit. At that moment, he keenly felt that Yun Qi had never thought of him as an opponent, not even a little. Suddenly, he felt as if he had lost all of his strength. The vigor he just gathered abruptly disappeared like nothing, causing him to wobble weakly on his feet. Yun Qi stopped looking at him and said in a frigid, imposing voice, "No one can take what is yours, Meng Jiangxi, but if you try and take what isn't yours by force, then you are only digging your own grave. I have never been a patient man, you know. In life, choices are far, far more important than hard work. Considering everything you have right now, if you continue to make the right choices, the only one you'll have to answer to in the future is me. But if you continue to cling to your worthless pride and rather break than bend, if you must gamble away everything you have if only to prove that you're no chicken shit, I will respect you, and I will stomp you into a pool of mud you can never crawl out of. You will become the toughest, smelliest bone anyone can trample on for eternity." Meng Jiangxi's lips trembled involuntarily as he stared at Yun Qi's profile. This was a verbal threat, but from Yun Qi's mouth and into his ears, it truly sounded like a reality Yun Qi could make real with the mere wave of a hand. A long time later, he finally stammered, "Who are—" He couldn't continue. He was so shaken, so shocked, that he couldn't even remember what he was trying to ask. Yun Qi turned away and leisurely made his way back to his divine sun palace. As he crossed over the threshold, he pushed the divine jade of revelation back into Meng Jiangxi's hand. Meng Jiangxi subconsciously caught it, his mind a complete blank. "I don't like using other people's stuff. You can have it back." His words were so casual, so uncaring, that it really felt as if he was tossing away an ordinary, worthless torch stone as charity. For anyone else, obtaining even a single mutated abyssal crystal entailed venturing into the endless fog, killing heavens know how many abyssal beasts, and being extraordinarily lucky just to have a minuscule chance of finding one. Yun Qi, he could find them and extract them with a simple sweep of his divine perception. Despite this, even he found only 7 divine jades of revelation in total. Its rarity was no joke. For a time, Meng Jiangxi continued to hold the divine jade of revelation with blank, unfocused eyes before turning around. However, as if a sudden gate in his soul that he was never willing to scrutinize was suddenly unlocked, he abruptly turned back to face Yun Qi and cried out, "Wait!" "Hmm?" Yun Qi afforded him a sideways glance. The moment Meng Jiangxi cried out the word, he felt as if the confusion ravaging his soul sea had suddenly disappeared. He stared at Meng Jianyuan and said as clear as day, "Promise that you won't harm my mother, and I, Meng Jiangxi, will serve you as your loyal subject and support your ascension." The humiliating words did not come out as hard as he thought they would. If Yun Qi was just a stronger opponent, he would not have given up so easily. However, the helplessness Yun Qi inflicted upon him was so strong that it wiped out all of his resistance like nothing. Yun Qi did not react in any particular way. He simply said, "Go sort out your intelligence network. I'll be needing it very soon. Lei Shang, please escort the divine sun." The entrance to the palace closed and cut off Meng Jiangxi's view of Yun Qi. It also cut off his original fate, the ancestral Dragon Mountain Range. "How is Wang Chu's progress?" The Dragon Lord's voice reeked of powerlessness and the burden of age. Long Chixin shook his head. "Passable. AI?" The Dragon Lord sighed quietly. "It's fine. I am satisfied if Wang Chu manages to enter the divine extinction realm before he is 600 years old." "How is Long Zai?" Long Chixin subconsciously lowered his voice. "She is still searching for a primal flame crystal with all her might.